Welcome back to Echo Ridge. Today, we're going to continue our progress on the Gunk boiler. Starting off with our cooling situation. If you remember from the last episode, I thought I was going to have to use this thermal aqua tuner, or figured I would just because it's so close. Well, this thermal aqua tuner is already running around 60% of the time, so I was hoping to be able to use another one. Well, not too far away is our thermal aqua tuner responsible for the iron volcano tamer. And right now the iron volcano is dormant, so the uptime is 0%. So while it is dormant, the only thing it'll have to do is keep this cool. Afterwards, the only thing it's being responsible for is 2 steam turbines and warming up our ice collection, but that's taking a very long time indeed. Oh look, there's some tallow there. Where in the world did I get tallow on this colony? And why were we dumping it here? But alas, it is also time to print yet another duplicate. In this case, we are going to grab this Sonyar or another electrical engineer booster dupe. They do have the disadvantage of not being very good at construction, but we could use some more help with the Engie's tune-ups. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 165, Peanut Butter World 91. The loop itself is a little longer, but was somewhat of a direct route, especially after some professionally placed bridges. I'm still waiting for more gold to be processed. It is quite a long counterflow exchanger, but once we have it, I'll be able to finish off the condenser room. In the meantime, while I'm waiting for the dupes to refine that metal, I wanted to give you an update on the lubrication station. It doesn't have power yet, but all the crude oil is in. We have 7 stations, which should be fine for 100 duplicates. And I do have all of the gunk being routed this way. I'm fending off the grinding gears by leaving the bottle filler in place. But that line follows the crude oil going up towards the lubrication stations. Well, somewhat. I showed you last episode how convoluted this run was. We now have sort of 2 liquid pipe spines in the colony. And in my boredom of just waiting for dupes to do things, I started printing out some extra blueprints and we got a truly amusing marble block statue. Let's see what else we get here. A dreamy hanging pot and true blue gym socks. Oh yay. As I indicated last episode, we don't have enough petroleum to fill this thing up. So we're going to start by using crude oil, and there's not a real big reason why I couldn't start now. Not to mention that when all said and done, when we don't have gunk to process, if we have extra oil, it's also going to go through this system. Because this system will be able to handle both crude oil and gunk, with the end result, of course, being more petroleum. I already have my 50-50 split with the crude oil here, so I am just going to connect it right there, snip this, since of course I'm still waiting for the primary loop to be finished, and now crude oil will start to fill in here. I don't have to worry about the thermosensor messing with the door because we have the signal switch ensuring that it stays open. Remember, a green signal always overrides a red signal. And green signals on mechanized airlock means the door stays open. For my sulfur drop off, right now I think I'm just going to put it right here at the top of the sauna. Ultimately, it would be great if I could deliver it all the way up here, but that is a lot of ore and I'm not sure if I want to spend that considering we have so much dupe labor to begin with. So for now, conveyor chute it is. I almost had a big boo-boo. Somehow, the professional installer of the bridges had this connected right here, which means the polluted water was coming in, and polluted water, as you may know, would definitely have off-gassed and broken my beautiful vacuum. A few quick plumbing sessions allowed me to dodge that, or maybe it was a quick reload. I'll let you decide which. And it's time for a new dupe. Please don't let me forget about that oil. I seem to be getting a lot of Masterworks art boosters lately. I wonder if the game's trying to tell me something. So we're going to be taking yet another Sonyar, this one with a digging booster and urbanite. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 166, Michael Lutton. I suppose while we wait, we can get the dupes to start using all the lubrication stations. This line here seems to be too busy. This one's got 7,380 potential watts. I suppose I don't need too much room because chances are only 1 or 2 dupes are going to be going at one time. So let's roll the dice and use this one. After all, I will be getting rid of most of this in here once we get that online. Enjoy your new oil baths, bionic dupes. Don't say I never did anything for you. Now to start this process, I need to turn this into a petroleum boiler. And I suppose there's no reason why I can't start now, because the ultimate goal down here is petroleum. I cannot put the one block in here. That is going to make sure we get the petroleum lock, at least until the dupes finish the rad pipes in here. I suppose I could do that and then just deconstruct this one. And that way we'll have a little bit of petroleum sitting here. But for now, it's time to turn this system on. I've set the thermosensor to above 460 degrees. So it's going to send a green signal as long as it is above 460 degrees, keeping the door open. But when it's below 460 degrees like it is now, it shuts the door and starts heating this whole reservoir up. And then all we do is wait for a few minutes while the heat travels the massive heat spike. I don't think I've ever seen a heat spike network quite like this. I'm rather enjoying it. The reason why this will be perfect for both a petroleum boiler and a gunk boiler is because of the flash point of crude oil being 399. While the gunk is a little bit higher at just around 450, the end result is still the same, and that is petroleum. To start off with, whenever there's not gunk, I am going to throw crude oil in there, but eventually I'm going to have to stop that, because if you remember from last episode, if we're only going to run one oil reservoir, that is just enough to keep all 100 bionic dupes lubricated. I suppose though, since there is going to be a net positive in water from using the petroleum generators, especially if I get those slicksters online, I might as well run more than one oil well. I think 4 petroleum generators should be good. Can we not make them out of gold? That'd be great, thanks. Some conductive wire bridges. That way I can get the main power spine down. I also need a battery to run these petroleum generators, also made out of steel. And this seems like a perfect spot for yet another buffer tank. And here is my ingest point for all that petroleum. I think it's already connected. Yes, beautiful. Our crude oil is sitting at 208 degrees. I will not forget. Buffer tank is in. Ooh la la. And that'll be that. Right now I have the natural gas generators set at 9060. The steam turbines are at 9070, at least these. I should probably lower those, huh? I mean, our geothermal power is set at 5030. So might as well make all these steam turbines the same. And since I want to keep that petroleum flowing, and because these petroleum generators will be a massive power boost, I'm going to put these on 9070. Now the question is, how do I make these their own room? I suppose if I came up here and then added a door, say right somewhere. I was wondering what was taking so long to fill up the gunk boiler's reservoir when I remembered that we enabled all of the lubrication stations. And as we can see from Tobledo's smile, once they are finished, they now have the fresh oil buff. Which I failed to mention, not only do they get the +3 to morale, they also get a -10% to stress. So it's okay that it's taking a little bit longer to fill up. I just realized a lot of these bridges are made out of granite, which shouldn't be too big of a deal because their melting point is 670. But I would have preferred to use igneous rock just to be safe. But if this gunk boiler ever does get to 670 degrees, we have much more serious problems than that bridge. Our crude oil is up to about 305 degrees. I don't think I showed you the counterflow loop since it's been completed. The gunk is coming in from this line right here. It'll go down through, connecting with this bridge, and then start counterflowing with all the petroleum. The gunk comes all the way up, and then gets dropped off into this liquid vent, where it's boiled and turns into petroleum and sulfur. Well, specifically solid sulfur, then liquid sulfur, then sulfur gas, and then we condense it here. Oh, the cooling loop. I might as well get that started. Everything's kind of connected. We'll go like this. I will just separate it from here. And then all I have to do is fill it because it is much longer now. Luckily, I have this line right here. No, you're going the wrong direction. Who put this bridge in? Now that cooling loop is responsible for keeping the 2 auto sweepers and the conveyor loader from overheating and also condensing all of that sulfur. But remember, it's only 8% of the gunk mass and it'll be in the form of a gas. So the cooling required to condense it really isn't too bad. Now all I have to do is make sure that I don't overfill that loop. That shouldn't be too big of a deal, but I do have a few eggs in the frying pan right now. I'm watching this oil level to make sure it doesn't get higher than this tile here, and I'm also keeping an eye on its temperature. Not because it's such a big deal, because it's just going to turn into petroleum, but I'd really like to show that process in the video. Here comes the loop. Looks like it's just about full, so I will snip it off from there. We'll have a few gaps, but that's not too big of a deal. I also wanted to highlight how beautiful these petroleum generators are. Once they are running, they're going to be giving us 3,000 watts a piece. That's almost more power than our entire geothermal setup. Oh, we're starting to get the boiling bubbles. Love to see it. I suppose I will let this turn into petroleum and stop the flow of oil. That way we know it's petroleum that's going over the side here and creating that lock and not oil. And before the festivities, it is time for another dupe. We have an extreme digging booster and a digging booster. Now their boosts are the same at +5 and +2. The extreme digging booster has the higher level digging. So we'll end up taking this chip. As a point on that though, just because a bionic dupe has that digging skill doesn't mean they also get the very firm material digging skill. Welcome to the colony, duplicate number 167, Brianna Tarnowski. Oh, I should have known. All of this crude oil is starting to flash into petroleum, but the level was too high, so some of the oil is going to end up in here. This isn't too big of a deal. I just need to go mop this up. In fact, I should probably deconstruct this tile. Oh, wait a minute. I should probably not do that until it finishes boiling. Otherwise, a whole heap of crude oil is going to come down here. In fact, why don't I just seal this in temporarily? It looks like we're almost there. And done. We now have a beautiful petroleum bath, which means I can deconstruct this tile again. Eventually the dupes will come get the little buckets of oil. We're still waiting for this door to open. It was a lot of heat draw from all these tiles, but even here at the top, we're still sitting at over 500 degrees. Eventually this door won't need to stay shut for so long because it'll be done heating this entire reservoir. In fact, I'll probably wait until the door opens before I turn the crude oil flow back on. Actually, now that it's petroleum, I don't need to use the crude oil. I can snip that just like this. Actually, let me snip it from back here so the rest of this can drain. And look at that. We have a petroleum boiler. By the way, as an aside, I think I'm building all of my petroleum boilers like this now. There's almost zero chance you end up with that sweet, sweet sour gas. You also get a less of a chance of any sort of walls breaking from the pressure because it's so much wider. The last little step I'm going to do, not that I think we ever have to worry about, is I wanted to put an automation sensor in here. Granted, we could have petroleum fill up most of this place. All it would do is make the counterflow a little less efficient. But if we ever did want to control it, I figured it'd be better to put in a hydro sensor now rather than later. With that being said, we have so many bionic dupes, we're going to be producing 10 kilos worth of petroleum per second for the foreseeable future. Not only is that whole line full, but we also have a buffer tank here that's filled with 700 kilos and more coming. I did disconnect the bottle filler. Since all the duplicants are using the lubrication station, what little gunk is left in that bottle emptier will be transitioned into gear balm. But this process is coming to an end. I'll probably end up keeping this for the foreseeable future just in case. We do have a smart storage bin filled with 154 gear bombs, so we won't have to worry about grinding gears in the event of emergency. The last thing I'm going to do that's going to wait till the next episode is finish off this area. I need to decide if I'm going to have 3 oil wells or just the 1 minimum as required. Let me know in the comments below if you have an opinion one way or the other. Remember, I'm going to have to seal this place up at the top. That way, the only gas in here is going to be natural gas. From there, I'm also going to need to tame this cool steam vent, start using its water, and then get started on some wonderful slicksters. Which actually does remind me, I don't want these slicksters producing petroleum. So I need to keep the temperature in here below 100 degrees. I would just move the slicksters so they could create the crude oil for the bionic duplicants, but remember, properly fed slicksters only produce 10 kilos per cycle of crude oil. So that means we would need 200 of them, and that's not going to happen. So I'm going to need to make sure that we're only producing normal slicksters and not molten slicksters who produce petroleum. But that's all for another episode. Ooh la la, the door is open. The heat spike is warming back up, which means it is time to start dropping some gunk. Well, more crude oil actually, because I didn't make enough to fill our little gap here. Because remember, this lock here is of vital importance. Even 10 kilos of gunk will have the byproduct of sulfur and then sulfur gas, which will then fill this entire cavity. And that's not what we want. So just a little bit more oil. For those of you who did not watch this last episode or my gunk boiler tutorial, once again I highly recommend you watching that so you get all the meat and potatoes about how this thing works. I'll go over it briefly, but the tutorial does a much better job of going over it in detail. While I'm waiting for this liquid reservoir to fill, we will go over the basics. Gunk, which is the byproduct from the bionic dupes, has a boiling point of around 480 degrees. Its byproducts are 92% petroleum and 8% sulfur. But remember, sulfur has a melting point of 115, so it's instantly going to melt and turn into liquid sulfur. Furthermore, liquid sulfur then has an evaporation point of 337, where it turns into sulfur gas. That's the point of this lock here that just now filled in. Without this lock, you'd have sulfur gas going everywhere, which would A, severely inhibit the efficiency of your counterflow. Remember, because we're bringing in this case 42, but it started off at 37 degree gunk, and that gunk's going to come all the way up here and start exchanging thermals with the very hot petroleum. The sulfur gas, on the other hand, should stay in this area until it comes over into the condensing area, where it will once again cool the gas into a liquid and then the liquid into a solid. The auto sweepers then pick up that sulfur, throw it in the conveyor loader for shipment outside of the boiler. We have enough oil now, so I can stop the flow of that once again and start the flow of gunk. Except remember, I do not need the gunk to come directly out. I want it to counterflow. Also need to hook up the liquid vent. Our cool gunk is coming in, and it will both cool down the petroleum, and the petroleum is going to heat up all that gunk. That way, by the time it hits this pool, it's already pretty close to its boiling point, which will then allow us to use even less heat from our heat spike. I've once again drained that crude oil out, and now it's nothing but gunk flowing. And here's the magic moment when the first blob of gunk comes in. Notice we're getting the solid sulfur. The sulfur melts, turns into a liquid. Once this is going full bore, you may even see some sulfur rain. And already we have sulfur coming out at 40 degrees. One thing I did not predict was there was still crude oil in it by the time that hot gunk came through. And remember that crude oil's boiling point is only sitting at 400. So we had a couple of cracked pipes, but the dupes will be in here real quick to fix it. It was definitely, I should have drained all of that crude oil before I started the gunk flow. Lessons learned. Considering this is a brand new invention and only my third time building it, first time in a live colony, I'll take that as a win. I don't love the 2-tile gap. I would have preferred this being a little bit larger. In my previous builds, I had a 4 or 5 gap to allow even more gas flow, because right now with this liquid forming here, it's only allowing the gas in on one tile. How can I get in there to fix that? I suppose I can trust the fact that this is staying a vacuum because it's condensing, and I can deconstruct this. This is so dumb. Jump up in there really quick to deconstruct this tile. You might wonder why I don't use airflow tiles. It's because when you have change of states like this, a lot of times your airflow tiles can get stuck with a liquid in them. So you might as well just not have a tile there to begin with. Our last dupe of the episode is going to be an Eduardo, who starts off with another extreme digging booster, and the only negative is they're not good at husbandry or medicine. So welcome to the colony, duplicate number 168, Baby Blue Bastard. That's a first for the channel. Right now the condenser loop is holding, but all the duplicates are trying to come in here and grab this sulfur. I have this on a priority 9. I'm gonna have to play the back and forth game. All the duplicates are trying to fill up the divergent storage bins and feeders. So what I'm going to do is turn off the flow of gunk, so that way we're not creating any more gas. So hopefully the condenser loop holds until somebody finally comes and does this. Engineer Walt is building the tile. Hurry up, Walt. Please hurry up. Almost there. No duplicant try to jump up there, and woo, it held. Way to go, condenser loop. I knew you had it in you. I've reconnected the gunk, so off to the races. Everything seems to be set. I do have a petroleum drop off here for little buckets like this. We also have some over in the oil biome. And so far, she's working like a charm. It's going to take a while for our grub to come back online. We're also feeding the Sweetles the sulfur, and they'll excrete more sucrose, which we're then feeding the wonderful grubs. We are starting to get our first bits of petroleum coming in, and now I'm starting to think that I should have maybe raised the level here. That way I could have put some nice metal tiles beneath the petroleum generators, but I think once this place gets hot enough, it's not going to matter much anyways. You can even see the polluted water trying to boil now. With the gunk boiler up and running full blast, that petroleum is coming out at 73 degrees. At the very top, it's going out around 410. And so far, even with this heat spike being as big as it is, the last 5 cycle average is only 0.7% of use on this door. I'd say that's pretty efficient. I hope you enjoyed this build and this video. I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say down in the comments below. So until next time, much love, happy gaming, and I'll talk to you soon.